Hi students, I'm going to quickly go over Shakespeare's sonnets and kind of analyze them a little bit and break them down and show you some resources to help you as you're reading Shakespeare. So let me go ahead and go to Canvas. Okay, so just as a reminder, do make sure that you watch the lecture on sonnets as well as the intro to Shakespeare that I posted. Check out these 3 videos that are in sonnet materials. They'll give you some historical context and just context in general. I've also posted the Shakespeare dictionary. This is so you can look up some words. And then you might always want to have a browser open with a dictionary so that you can look up certain words, because sometimes words are used in ways that you wouldn't expect in Old English. So just have those up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the week 2 notes because I've posted some of the poems here, and I've in previous classes worked on them and put them on the board, and so I just posted those notes. So just know that those are here and you're free to use them at any point. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so as we're looking at this poem, I just want to remind you about the sonnet forms. When we're talking about sonnets, it might be important. So in a Shakespearean sonnet, right, we have 14 lines with a very important rhyme scheme. It goes A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and then a rhyming couplet, G, G. This could change depending on the poet, but this is kind of like the standard. There's these things called the quatrains. So a quatrain is basically a gathering of 4, right? Quad. So it's basically the 4 lines that rhyme together. So the A, B, A, B would be quatrain 1, C, D, C, D would be quatrain 2, and then E, F, E, F would be quatrain 3, and then the rhyming couplet or the turn or the volta would be the last part. So let's go back to the poem. And as you can see, I've already numbered the lines as well as given all the schemes like their address and also labeled it quatrain 1, 2, 3, and then the rhyming couplet at the end. All right, so also when you're referring to poems or sonnets, you want to put them in quotation marks. This just means this was the 138th sonnet ever published by Shakespeare. Some people like to title them the first line of the poem. I just think sonnet 138 is easier because it's shorter, but whatever you want to do is fine with me. Okay, let's go ahead and read it. When my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies. That she might think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtleties. Thus vainly thinking that she thinks me young, although she knows my days are past the best. Simply I credit her false-speaking tongue, on both sides thus a simple truth suppressed. But wherefore says she not she is unjust, and wherefore say not I that I am old? Oh, love's best habit is in seeming trust, and age in love loves not to have years told. Therefore I lie with her, and she with me, and in our faults by lies we flattered be. Okay, so let's go through this like quatrain by quatrain. So, when my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies. So this is interesting, right? In this way, it's kind of a paradox, right? So the speaker is speaking about the subject, which is a woman. So let's just assume that it's a man speaking about a woman in this case, okay? So the man is saying that the woman is claiming that she is truthful, and they believe her, though I know she lies. So there's the paradox, right? How can you believe someone that you know is a liar? So right off the bat, Shakespeare throws us a little curveball. So we're on alert, right? That she might think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtleties. So essentially untutored youth meaning young, but also not very knowledgeable, not very experienced, maybe innocent. So she thinks that he's innocent and in that way non-experienced in the world's false subtleties. So this is interesting too because a subtlety is something that's not very understood. It's kind of quiet, right? But it's saying that it's a false quiet. So it's actually not so unknown, right? And it's also subtleties, subtle lies, right? Like you want to think about that. So basically these lines could be saying that she thinks he is innocent and would never know that she's lying to him, right? And then it says, thus, vainly thinking that she thinks me young, although she knows my days are past the best. So here he's saying that, he wants to be thought of as young, but she's aware that he's old. And maybe he's lying about his age. That could be one thing. Simply, I credit her false speaking tongue, again, lies. On both sides, thus, is simple truth suppressed. So he's saying that both he and she are lying. Her about whatever she's doing, right, on the side or whatever, and he about the fact that he is not young and not so innocent, possibly. Okay, now here's where we have some words. Wherefore is not a very common word today. So that's where you'd go to the Shakespeare dictionary. Let me pull it up. And you would look up the word wherefore. And immediately it'll tell you. Okay, so it means why. All right, perfect. Going back. Okay, so as you saw in class, we kind of put the why in there already. So, but why says she not she is unjust? And why say not that I am old? So here he's saying, why is she saying that she's not a liar? And why am I not admitting that I'm old, right? And here we get into something interesting. Oh, love's best habit is in seeming trust. So seeming trust is interesting because the word seeming before the word trust implies that trust isn't really there, right? It's seeming, so it's not necessarily true. And that kind of could refer that everyone in a relationship lies about something, right? That lies are part of love. Yeah. And age in love loves not to have years told. So this line is interesting because it could be about age, right? Like we don't always want to talk about when we're aging, but it could also be about the amount of time we spend in a relationship, right? It could be like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but you felt like, oh my God, that relationship lasted forever, right? Like that's not necessarily a good thing. Like if you feel like it's been too long, that's a negative, right? Especially when it's a bad relationship, it lasts forever, right? So it could be either one of those things. And now we get to the rhyming couplet. Therefore, I lie with her and she with me, and in our faults by lies we flattered be. Now, this word lie is really interesting. It could be a play on words. So this is where you pull out your dictionary and you look up the word, let me make sure in the US dictionary, look up the word lie, because again, words have deeper roots, Latin roots, and sometimes they change meaning over time. And you could go down and look at all of these kind of old meanings of words, but I'm just going to go to the top. So lying could be to actually lie, like to tell a lie, or to lay. So I don't know if you guys have heard this, but to lay with someone is an old term for to be intimate, right? To have sex. So it could be referring to lies that you say with your mouth, or it could be saying, to lie with someone sexually. So therefore I lie with her and she with me, and in our faults by lies we flattered be. So it could have two meanings. It could be that by lying to each other, we appease the relationship, or it could be a bed of lies, or it could be a play like we are intimate with each other to cover our lies, right? It could be that. So that's just a way that you could interpret this poem. Okay, let's look at Sonnet 171. Okay, so no longer mourn for me when I am dead, then you shall hear the surly sullen bell. Give warning to the world that I am fled from this vile world with the vilest worms to dwell. Nay, if you read this line, remember not the hand that writ it, for I love you so, that I in your sweet thoughts would be forgot, if thinking on me then should make you woe. Oh, if I say you look upon this verse, then I perhaps compounded am with clay. Do not so much as my poor name rehearse, but let your love even with my life decay, lest the wise world should look into your moan and mock you with me after I am gone. Okay, so just looking back at the poem, right, it's the same line schemes, 14 lines, there's 3 quatrains, although you'll notice moan and gone are not a complete rhyme, they're an off rhyme. So make note of that. That could mean that the turn or the solution, there is no solution. Like Shakespeare did this for a reason. So just keep that in mind as you're reading the poem. Okay, let's go quatrain by quatrain. No longer mourn for me when I am dead. Again, mourning to mean to feel sorrow, to be sad, to grieve. Then you shall hear the surly solemn bell. So just so you guys know, during Shakespeare's time, there was a plague, a bubonic plague that was really, really bad. Obviously, everyone was dying. I'm sure you've seen the images of these masked men walking around on the street with these cloaks. These like giant beaked masks anyway. So it was a big deal back then. Like the Black Death was serious. So it's kind of a reference to that time, as well as anytime people would die, they would ring a church bell. So it wasn't just a call to church. It was, in the day, it was if someone died, they would ring the bell, and it was going on all the time. And sullen means sad. So basically, it's kind of along the lines of, if I die, please don't mourn me, right? It's just like kind of a common term. Give warning to the world that I am fled from this vile world with the vilest worms to dwell. So this is interesting. So vile world and vilest worms to dwell. So um, if the world is vile, right, and you think about it, he's comparing worms and vileness, right? So worms eat dead bodies. So maybe there are people in this world that he felt were taking from him, right? They're taking something from this person that's speaking. Nay, if you read this line, remember not the hand that writ it, for I love you so. So this is interesting too. So in here, it's kind of breaking of the fourth wall, right? If you read this line, remember not. So this could be the author, the poem, like talking to the subject, or it could be you, the reader. So if you read this line, reader, remember not the hand that writ it, for I love you so. So it's kind of funny. This is almost like a like forget me, but don't forget me, right? It's something about it that's like every time the author says, please forget me, there's like, wait, but read my words. Right? Okay, so let's keep reading. That I in your sweet thoughts would be forgot, if thinking on me then should make you woe. So woe means sad or depressed. Basically, like, don't think about me if it's going to make you sad. Oh, if I say you look upon this verse, when I perhaps compounded am with clay. So again, like it's like forget me. Oh, but wait, keep reading, right? Read it over and over. And I did tell you how Shakespeare believed that he would get eternal life through poetry. So this literally could be him talking about, you know, him living through his own words, right? Kind of like a false, um, like I don't know, like a false modesty, yeah. And compounded in with clay could mean the words are forever in stone, or it could be, you know, a graveyard compounded in with clay, like being inside of a tomb. So it could be a few different things. Do not so much as my poor name rehearse, but let your love even with my life decay. So again, but just forget me, right? So it's like, don't mourn me, but then listen to the bell. And then read this line, but I love you, but don't remember me. So it's kind of in a way, it's like it's a conflict all throughout this poem. It's pretty funny. Lest the wise world should look into your moan and mock you with me after I'm gone. So to mock is to make fun of, right? And lest would be unless. So it's funny that there's like the world is vile, but it could be wise if it looks into her moan, right? And this moan could be sadness, right? Or this could be kind of this tension with the reader because it's an off rhyme. There's something weird about it, right? And again, like this kind of making fun of him. And like I said, you know, Shakespeare in his day was not considered like that great. In fact, people made fun of him. So it wasn't until much later in modern times that people saw Shakespeare as a genius. He was not considered a genius back then. In fact, he was kind of considered a nobody, really. So again, this could be about someone's death, or it could literally be about eternal life through poetry. It's really up to you to decide. So yeah, I hope that helps a little bit when you're breaking down some of these poems. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Okay.